Hello. Oh, hi, Dan and Milo. Hi, Sleepy Dan and Milo. I'm also sleepy. It's going to be a long stream tonight. But we are going to do a bit of a visual novel. Called Edge of Reality. I don't know where the Edge of Reality is, but I think it's somewhere over there. This is a Sometimes You published game developed by Moon Eclipse that came out on the 16th of February. It's an ID Xbox game. Thank you very much to ID Xbox for the code. It's a visual novel, which is out on Xbox, PC, PlayStation, and Switch. And on Xbox, it's £4.19 or $4.99. So, apparently Dan's life, Dan, you are the titular character, will never be the same after meeting this mysterious young lady. It seems there can be no more boring profession in the world than an appraiser in a pawn shop, but meeting with a mysterious young lady brings one such appraiser through a series of strange events, changing Dan's initial perspective about his craft. In this game, immerse yourself in an intricate story where dreams and reality are intertwined into a single whole, where at some point reality itself may lose its stability. It has non-linear progression and unexpected plot twists, a unique visual style, and music written specifically for the game, conveying the atmosphere. It's an interactive visual novel and the ending will depend on your choices. Woot woot. Right, had 17 achievements, and it's one of those ones where you can just skip shit. Finally a game about you. I've had many games where Dan has been the protagonist, so because it always confuses you. The achievements are not flagged, but as in their ratio, it's one of those ones where you can just do the skippy skips. Yeah, I don't know how long a single playthrough is. So we will see. There are 3 versions of this game. I'm playing the Series X version. There is also an Xbox One version and a Windows version. Because why not release it 3 times and have 3 different lists? All the latest Sometimes You ones have that, or at least the ones I've seen. Which is just very confusing. Oh, and my side table dispatched. By every... Anyway, let's load up the game. Hello, it's me. Excuse me. I was going to say, is there music?
Ready to hear, ready to listen. I've got something to tell you about. Ready to see, ready to witness something that is hiding in crowd.
Okay, so we've got a gallery.
Come little closer, come a bit nearer. I'm waiting for you. Yeah.
Lady McGree. Well, hello, my personal nightmare. There we go. The door behind it slammed shut, creaking with rusty hinges. I never liked this place. Everything in here is so saturated with dust that it's difficult to breathe, and the measured ticking of the clock gets on my nerves. One cup of coffee and the world will immediately become more beautiful. In the kitchen, nothing has changed since yesterday. There was an unfinished copy of the old Curiosity Shop on the table. The mountain of coffee mugs did not wash itself in the sink. I have been thinking about hiring a cleaner for a long time, but I'm afraid that my landlord will not like the resultant delay in payment. But I do have to spend the nights right here, and it's not the best prospect for a person allergic to all things. After coffee, I took the tattered book and went to my workplace. I had a crazy idea to do the cleaning, but my sleepy brain rejected this idea, like how my sister would undoubtedly reject the offer of an ex-boyfriend. But why did my sister not beg for this old pawn shop from grandfather? She loves junk so much. But my grandfather... was of a different opinion and believed that business management is a purely male affair. Oh, cool, sexism. I could tell from his reaction whenever he would meet the current businesswomen. Sitting comfortably, I lazily opened the book, determined to finally read it, but someone rang the doorbell. Sorry, are you already open? Hi, yes, come in. The visitor was wrapped tightly in a shawl. I could not see her face under the hat except for the tip of her nose, which she kept trying to hide from my eyes. I feel like this is setting it up for noir-esque, but the music is just not doing it for me. It looked funny, a little silly even. Perhaps the girl has skin problems and thus doesn't want to show herself. Maybe she's a vampire. The girl, the woman, carefully approached closer. You don't really approach far away. Oh dear, Dan. I want to hand over one thing. The stranger placed on the rack a brooch made of dark stone with numerous specks of amber. It was the first time I saw such a skillfully crafted piece of jewellery in the form of a spider with long pointed paws. It seemed he could hang on your clothes. And how much do you rate it? This was partly a rhetorical question, but sometimes people, not knowing the value of the things they sold, called a ridiculously low amount, which I confess was beneficial to me. Nothing. I just want to give it away. Oh, that sounds like a monkey's paw to me. For free. May I? Hey, Alkash. How you doing? How's everyone doing? It's Thursday, I think. This week has gone weirdly slowly. I don't know why. Don't know why this week's gone weirdly slowly. Okay. But this is not just a trinket. In any case, this is your decision. Having estimated how much it can cost, I wrote in a thick battered journal brooch with the spider, and asked the girl to sign opposite. Hi, Leaky. That is a surprisingly long message that just fits, so I can see Iki. But that is very eloquent. I approve. I went to the warehouse to find the least dusty place for the jewel. ... The girl was filling out the data. A small box was found for the brooch in one of the closets with jewellery. ... Indeed. I'd be better miss if you provide the full name, not just the initials. ... I did not have time to return to the counter before the stranger disappeared. In the open journal under today's date was the name Lonely Standing, Rose. At night I could not sleep for a long time. I had a premonition of something bad. But when fatigue nevertheless prevailed and my mind plunged into darkness, nothing could stop this nightmare. It was a strange dream. I clearly realized that everything around was unrealistic, but that did not diminish my fear. Scientists call these nightmares sleep paralysis. In it, a person feels that what is happening is a fabrication. Usually a dream is a copy of reality. The one who has fallen asleep lies on the bed in his room, unable to move, watching himself from the side. They say these are very scary dreams. They can change a person and he will remember for a long time the horror endured, fearing to fall asleep again. You might be waiting a little while. This prose is very awkward. That's what I say about this game. I feel like it's suffering from poor translation. I felt the sweat come out on my forehead. I even saw it. My spirit seemed to be just pushed out of the body. I'm not quite sure where you're going with that sentence, Dan. It was an unpleasant sensation. At first, nothing happened. It seemed like an eternity has passed when I noticed something dark in the corner of the room. First, it looked like a shadow, then like black smoke, then the something took on a humanoid shape. He was a tall man in a solid suit and tie. Gotcha. I was waiting for something like that. His face was hidden by a dark veil. The impression was made that he did not have a face at all, only the smoke that poured from his ears, nose, and eye sockets. Well, if he didn't have a face, how did he have nose and eye sockets? An inexplicable panic began to seize me. I rushed from corner to corner trying to get closer to the light, but all I found was darkness. Meanwhile, the man took out something from his bosom and dropped it to the floor. Okay. The only thing I saw was something that seemed like a spider heading towards my body. I looked at myself. I began to feel chills. Shadows lay under my eyes as if someone or something was draining away all my strength, like a ghoul. The spider slowly climbed to the head of the bed and stopped. Now I could see it better. It was a brooch that was handed over to the pawn shop today, but alive. The stone spider trembled a little. The man grew agitated. The smoke became thicker. His hands clenched into fists and his back arched sharply. He tried to make a hint of a sound, but only wheezing came out. Then the shadow hit a nearby nightstand. The roar made the spider twitch, but no more. Furious, the shadow quickly escaped from the corner and hung over my body. Smoke filled almost the entire room. It became difficult to breathe and see. I watched in horror as the shadow made the spider move its stone legs. The brooch writhed in pain, but purposefully approached me. The spider climbed onto my chest and began to tear the pajama shirts. I could not do anything. A sense of hopelessness choked me. My skin was seared by the cold, sharp paws that scratched like blades. There was a smell of blood in the air. The brooch seemed to just dig into my flesh, trying to climb its way right into my heart. I twitched and wheezed, and my face was distorted by the grimace of pain, terrible pain. The burning feeling no longer resembled cold, it burned from the inside. I was dying. I was definitely dying. God, you're so dramatic. ... In the morning, I hated the whole world. Obvious consequence of the nightmare. And now it seemed I had slept for 7 hours, but it felt like I'd just run several kilometres. Haha, done as dramatic. But a couple of coffees and I'm nearly back in good condition. A day passed and the whole imaginary happening with the brooch no longer worried me. I saw no more stranger visitors in the pawn shop, and I must admit I would have completely forgotten about the incident if not for one person who arrived today in the middle of the day. And I will come on Monday if you don't mind. Yes, of course. Do not forget about my recommendation. Bye. The client was about to leave as the bell tinkled on the door. Pawn shop. Hello. Would you do me a little favour? Before me, a handsome-looking man stood. He was very tall, so tall that I had to lift my head to look into the interlocutor's eyes. He constantly tapped his fingers against the thin little cane and squinted his eyes slightly throughout the conversation. Directly from the doorway, the man evoked some respect. Greatness oozed from him. He was obviously some big shot in the town. But what did this gentleman forget in such a place? See, I'm looking for one very important thing. He handed me a sheet with a schematic drawing of a brooch with a suspiciously familiar spider. Have you received such a thing? Yes, I have. In very strange circumstances. I took a closer look at the man. His face seemed familiar to me, but I just could not remember where I'd seen him before. Maybe in your dreams. And then I want to buy it. But first, I should take a look at it if that doesn't bother you. I must be sure that this is the thing I need. No, I definitely saw him somewhere. Such an ominous smile would be hard to forget. But where? Okay, sit down for now and I'll bring the brooch. The man headed for the free chair for visitors. I had to remember where I put the little thing. I wonder why he needs this brooch. Oh, it's clearly a feminine jewellery. Because, you know, spiders are so female. I mean, they are, like, you know. But I was trying to be silly. The treasured box was found quite quickly. The man had only just managed to get comfortable when I returned. Here you can see an exact copy of the picture. Great. Can't even imagine how grateful I am to you. Overjoyed, the gentleman laid aside the cane and carefully picked up the jewellery. The anticipative smile did not leave his face. I wanted to say that touching things were not allowed under the rules, but I did not have time. I am ready to give you 15,000 for it. Will such a price suit you? The man had called such an enormous sum for such a trinket, and if it seemed strange before, it was now even more suspicious. Of course, this is not my business, but I would like to know what is so valuable in this tiny brainchild of a drunk jeweller. I'm curious. If it's not a secret, what is this thing? For a moment, the man's face contorted as if he did not like my question, but immediately became friendly again. Strange reactions to such an innocent question. Maybe he realized that he had lost by offering such a large sum, since I still did not know of its value. Ah, this brooch is one of the treasures that my beloved grandmother left to me as an inheritance. But unfortunately, some of the jewelry was stolen, and now I'm looking for them all over town. Apparently, the thief decided to sell them in pawn shops to earn some money. And why was the brooch given to me in exchange for nothing? Don't say that, you dumbass. You're not going to get any money then. The person who brought it did not look like a thief. I don't know about that. I think the music stopped. It's a weird book anyway. It doesn't concern you anyway, young man. I named my price, so would you be so kind as to do your job? The harsh tone left no doubt. This man was lying. But he was partly right, because this is absolutely not my business. Okay, so just do a save, because I want to go into settings. If I turn the music up to full, will it work? Sure, let's sell the brooch. It tried to eat us in the night. Sorry, the price quite suits me. Having paid, the man hastened to leave, leaving me at a loss. I had the feeling that I had made an irreparable mistake. After that incident, I thought about it a lot. Despite his somewhat welcoming look and manners, the man had scared me. He certainly lied, but for what purpose? The rest of the day I spent reading the book. There were almost no visitors and no strange events. But, as the sailors say, it was only the calm before a storm. I need your help. The first client next morning was a pretty girl whose voice was familiar to me. The same stranger who gave me that brooch. Today the girl looked different. Her restless eyes expressed panic. Her breathing was sharp and the hastily laid hairstyle was dishevelled from running. She was clearly in a hurry here. How can I be of service? With a quick step, the girl went up to the counter, trying to calm down on the go, but in vain. Judging that conversation would not begin soon, I offered the girl a glass of water. She did not refuse. Thank you. Take your time. Calm down and I will listen to you. Rose, that is how the girl introduced herself, drank a glass of water in a single gulp. Her hands, and with a roar, slammed on the rack, almost breaking the glass substrate, which I barely managed to remove. What the... Is that the log? Nope, that sentence just didn't make any sense. Yeah, cool. What is the matter with her? Which she said out loud. That's kind of rude. It looks like all the troubles of the world have just collapsed on her fragile shoulders. By the way, Rose was indeed a fragile girl. Looks like a woman to me. She was too thin, despite the fashion standards for magnificent bodies in our time. She looked like a child, just as pretty and innocent, but with tremendous power in her hands, as it is worth noting. It's like reading fanfic. It's kind of painful. I'll give it another hour and see where it goes. You owe me a helping hand. That brooch that I gave you the other day, is it still with you? Please say it is so. This brooch again. What is it about it that everyone needs it? This joke is starting to bother me. But what do I answer with? Can I trust this Rose? Sure. I decided to be honest with the girl, although this would disappoint her. No, I don't have it anymore. Yesterday somebody bought it, so I can't help you. The girl's gaze was glazed. Her hands began to tremble. She seemed about to cry. That's the last thing I need. No. Late. How could I be late? Rose said something else, but through her sobs the words were just impossible to make out. The girl in despair hid her head in her hands. It seemed that this thing should not have been bought. But then why did she give it to me? Well, stop her. Why did you give it to me, since you did not want the brooch to get you in the wrong hands? Controlling her emotions, Rose tried to pull herself together, but her voice was still trembling. Who's the buyer? A short, tall, bearded man in a solid suit. Yes, your friend? Supposed to get to anyone else but that person. But why? Doesn't matter. The only important thing is that this person cannot be trusted. I need to get it back at all costs. Help me, please, help. You were the only one who has seen him in person and survived. I feel sorry for her. But what can I do? A detective or an investigator that can scour the town in search of a man. I'm just a pawn shop receiver and nothing more. Sure. But I'll help. Kia, I'll help you in finding this person, but I cannot do much. First, you need to figure out where to look for him and... Oh. Without letting me finish, Rose leaned over the counter and hugged me tightly. Helpmate. Because of her impulse, I became speechless. The girl smelled of sweet perfume and I felt my heart pounding in my temples. Thank you. I heard her sobbing. Trying to pull away as gently as possible, I broke out of the sudden hug. An embarrassed silence hung between us. To smooth out the awkwardness, I went straight to the front door, explaining our next steps as I moved. Since we have such an urgent matter on our hands, then we should deal with that immediately. The rusty hinges on the door were reluctant to yield, but I managed to overpower them. My brain simply refused to think. And in order not to overload it even more, methodically, one after another, closed numerous locks on the iron monster. What's she doing? I did not answer this question because the closed plate I had turned up already said a lot. I think there are enough visitors for today. Do you have some people or a notepad in your purse, maybe? Without waiting for an answer, I went into my makeshift kitchen arranged in the back room. Rose followed. Oddly, the paper in the purse was found. And not only paper. The girl excitedly dumped the contents of the bag onto the small table: pens, magnifying glass, a book without any identifying inscription, an inkwell, and a pencil. The hypothesis of all of this, of course, was a small stack of paper. And how does it all fit in such a small space? Some secrets are best not to know. Where do we start? As well as considering where he could go. To begin with, I propose we go to the police station. I have a friend there who may know about strange events in the town. The boy has long been looking for this little thing, and you miss along with it, I suppose. Let's be less formal, Dan. In this case, it's not important to stand in ceremony. I did not argue with Rose. For me, ceremonies are not that important, as, for example, someone like my sister, the inveterate brawler and coquette. Okay, Rose. Then look and listen. I need your opinion. Aye, aye, sir. The girl shoved me sideways and buried herself in her recording. It amused me. She looked like a little offended hedgehog. On the paper, an inscription appeared in a beautifully rounded handwriting. Police station. But this is illogical. It only takes our precious time. We are looking for the man himself, but he would not go where he can be revealed or recognized. This is too risky. Do you have any other suggestions? What would you do in this place? I would have gone away from here. Northway Town is a port town. You could sail away by ferry. No, you couldn't escape by water. Ferries do not go during low tide. It's too dangerous. The only quick way out of the town is by rail. Rose frowned for a long moment, pondering what I said. It was clear that she doesn't know the town. Okay, then we'll inspect the station. He could be seen there. For a moment the girl thought, and then suddenly her face lit up. I remembered that this morning. Madame Dillon complained to the commander that her apartment had been ruined by someone. She threatened to file a report with the police. The buyer could have found out which house I was staying in and tried to steal the brooch. Write it down. This is not enough. Where else could he go? Maybe you have abandoned buildings, a forest, a river in town, or somewhere near it. After the words of Rose, I thought, we had abandoned places, but they are guarded and people often pass by them. There was no river outside the town, only the bay where the port was located. But the forest was one such place, such that it was easy to get lost in. Consisting mainly of tall coniferous trees growing very densely, it was shrouded in black darkness, which caused horror even to non-superstitious people. I was only there once, when my grandfather and my sister went looking for mushrooms. That is, outside the town was a forest. He could take refuge there. Right. Then let's check the forest. But which of these places should we visit first? I think we'll go around the town first. I don't really want to go to the forest. They say that someone had already gotten lost there. We'll go there last. Rose looked at me disapprovingly, but said nothing. Police station. This is hotel. Railway station. And forest, which we can't go to. Do them in order. Our first choice fell on the police station, where I was hoping to meet an old friend with whom we had once studied together. Not to say that our relationship was close, but they could be called friendly. You'll see, this is the most positive person I know. You will definitely like him. Once, when my companion and I had a fight with another faculty, he had a noisy party, where he gathered everyone and we settled all the conflicts peacefully. I wish you saw their faces when they knew we were there. I'll remember those faces forever. Apparently he's a really good person. But what made him go to work for the police? Oh, his unbridled thirst for justice. But alas, he's too soft for the harsh policeman, although he himself will never admit it. It'd be interesting to learn something about Rose's school years, but I could not foresee her reaction. And you? What were your friends like at school? I had no friends. Oh, I'm sorry. Police station met us with its cordiality. People ran past, someone even nearly knocked me down. Everywhere there was an unprecedented noise and din, and stacks of paper and documents were stacked wherever as possible. Panic reigned here. What happened to me? Silence was the answer. The last time I was here, the picture was different. It seems that laziness herself had settled in this place. We really need to know about what happened. Making my way through the chaos surrounding us, I noticed that every employee who ran by had a newspaper in their hands, sometimes not just one. The cherished door was close, but before I could knock, it swung open to meet me. John! The achievement is just called John! I'm guessing this is John! John. Oh, they're cold. I really want a chocky bar, but I don't have any chockies. Silly face. Dan. John. Dan. Unexpected meeting you here. I hope you came here yourself and were not delivered in a police car. I came by myself. I have a business for you, John. Then come in. Always glad to meet dear guests. And for God's sake, Dan, introduce me finally to your companion. I am bursting with curiosity. Since the office exactly similar to the previous one, only tidier. Unlike the other rooms, it was quiet here. Unbearably quiet. John, this is Rose. Rose, this is John. John, we have a problem. John greeted Rose with a joking bow, and in the blink of an eye became more serious. Always at your service? What's the problem? We need to find one person. It's very urgent. Your friend? He has gone missing. It's better not to be friends with such people. This man came to my pawn shop yesterday and bought a thing that should have not come into his hands. Only I saw him. We have neither a name nor other information about him. I do not see anything illegal. The thing he bought is now his. The fact is that something irreparable can happen because of this thing. And the buyer knows how to use it. Oh no. You could say he bought a massive weapon. I was no less surprised than John. Such a power in such a tiny little thing. Didn't know you handed me a bomb. This is not a bomb. And what then? The girl hesitated. She clearly did not want to reveal her secrets. But her eyes expressed persistent curiosity. This is a very powerful time bomb. Very funny, Rose. So what did this man look like? Still thinking about Rose's unsuccessful joke, I told John everything inside out. Its useful features, the ability to talk to any person, how it failed. That is amazing. Most likely he's a stranger and he's not in the database. But this is very similar to the case we are now investigating as a whole department. As you may have noticed, no one is sitting idle. What keys? 2 days ago, someone sneaked into the museum, into the hall with precious jewellery. The alarm went off, but he managed to leave, but left a message on one of the walls, over which the best linguists and decipherers of the town are still struggling to decode. You can go there and ask the guard on duty. Officially, of course, he's not obliged to tell you anything. He's rather talkative, but it is true that he does not like the press. Oh my god, these sentences are painful! So painful. So painful. John gave us a newspaper, on the front page of which was a huge article about a mysterious robber. This is what we need. Thank you. She joyfully shook hands with John and flew out of the office with the newspaper in her hands. I don't know what you got involved in, but I think this may help you not get hurt. Hold it, I confiscated it yesterday. I mean, it reads like it's been translated from a different language that does not have the same sentence structure. Like, it's sort of been put through Google Translate, but no one actually checked it to check that it makes sense in that other language. I mean, you know, it's fine. It just could have really done with a proofread. Like a really good proofread. And a lot of editing. Because, I mean, you've got mixed up pronouns and just sentences that literally just didn't make sense. Missing bits. I imagine it makes perfect sense in the language in which it was written. John handed me a gun with its hilt forward. Don't be afraid, that bully apparently was a joker. Instead of cartridges, inside the gun were rubbered shells. Can you imagine? You cannot kill in such a way unless you shoot someone close to the eye, but you can neutralize somebody for a while. It's a very unpleasant sensation getting shot by rubber shells. There are a few shells. If something happens, all of a sudden shoot and run. Just some friendly advice. Oh yes. What a weird girl. Do you know if she's local? I do not advise, friend. She's not your type. Also, if you keep calling her a girl, then she's certainly not old enough. I wish you'd call her a woman. Who needs a quirky girl? John said nothing else, only smiled slyly and patting my shoulder left the office. Perplexed, I went after Rose. So I'm just going to skip to the museum because I want to know what was stolen. Ah, she local? No, she's from that London. Following John's tip, we went to the town museum. Strange things are happening in the town and the police short-handed or short-brained. So much so that they could not catch the mysterious criminal. On the way to the destination, an interesting discussion occurred between me and Rose. I can't say, Dan. Why do you not understand? And why can you not understand that such secrets do not please me? Do not parry a question. Why do you change topics? This girl cannot be convinced. Just think, I feel like a little experimental animal. Is it really so hard for her to tell me exactly what I'm helping her with? Dan, don't be sulky. This is not a game. Just trust me. I beg you. I'll explain everything to you later. I did not answer. I hope I will not be disappointed by her story. On the way to the museum, I grabbed the girl by the elbow and pulled her to the nearest thick trunk. Okay. So behind a tree? Grabbed her arm, elbow, and pulled her behind a tree. I think is what that sentence was saying. Uh-huh. Look how many police there are. They're unlikely to approve of our intimate conversation with the guard. What do you suggest? I was hoping to take a look at the drawings that block the walls. The window of the first floor is open. Let's take a look. The girl looked around, quickly going to the window and looking inside, standing on her toes. It's clearly not a room with jewellery. More likely to be an archive, but just look at the mess here, as if someone was looking for something. Hurry up. We're just picking the top options, unless I vehemently disagree with them. Excuse me. The girl squeezed easily through the window and opened the second pane for me. Oh, why did I neglect my morning exercises? Huge shelves of books, folders, and boxes of scrolls were pushed back. Something was lying on the floor. Rose glanced briefly through the books, found nothing interesting, and turned to the table. Suddenly, she subtly changed her expression and took out several scrolls from under the table. Despite the open window, the room was twilight dark, and the girl, rummaging in her purse, pulled out a flashlight. If you still don't believe me, read this. Sorry, my phone was buzzing, and I had to make all the buzzy things go away. She gave the flashlight to me and crossed her arms over her chest. Uneasy till he slept again, resolved to rid himself of pain. Against his custom called aloud, Morpheus from the sleepy crowd. As all of his numerous train expressed something man imitated best. Something the words, the gesture could supply. It mimic. And the main belly? But all his actions oh my god, that's just really hard. Oh, there we go. Right, let's try this again. This god uneasy till he slept again, resolved at once to rid himself of pain, and though against his custom called aloud, exciting Morpheus from the sleepy crowd. Morpheus of all his numerous train expressed the shape of man and imitated best, the walk, the words, the gestures could supply, the habit mimic and the main belie. Plays well, but not all his actions is confined. Not all his action is confined, extending not beyond our humankind. Another birds and beasts and dragons, apes. This dreadful images and monster shapes. This demon Kelos in heaven's high hall. Or Aislos? Anyway, the gods have named, but man Phobita call. A third is Phantasus, whose actions roll on meaner thoughts and things devoid of soul. Earth's fruits and flowers he represents in his dreams, and solid rocks unmoved and running streams. These three to kings and chiefs their scenes display, the rest before the ignoble commons play. Of these, the chosen Morpheus is dispatched, which done, the lazy monarch overwatched. Down from his prodding elbow drops his head, dissolved in sleep, and shrinks within his bed. Metamorphosis by Ovid. Okay. Am I supposed to be clicking on something else? Ah. Okay. 21 for 1576. Morpheus, the deity of dreams, one of the gods of the sleep god Hypnos, the grandson of the goddess of revenge Nemesis. He is mistakenly portrayed as a young man, with rings on his temples. In fact, he looks like a grey-haired old man. See research of F. Anton. 22 for 1567. Exact location of the so-called Kingdom of Morpheus is unknown, noting the version of Mount Olympus as unnecessarily mythological, and having studied all written sources, we come to the conclusion that the place should be sought in the north of modern Europe. Brussels. My soul seeks to explore Brussels. 67. I received permission from the Pope to study the Vatican Library. What a great honour. I can find information about the followers of the teachings of Morpheus according to my calculations. There are about 30 people in Europe. Note dated July 15, 1902 on this day. On this, diary entries break off. It is known that in this period from May 27th to May 29th, 1567, the author disappeared without a trace in one of the inns near Rome. And Morpheus realized that people need not only good, pleasant dreams, but also the bad, scary, and unpleasant, and he created the nightmare and gave it a name, Oneirus. By faith and truth, Oneirus served his master until one day he tried to taste human flesh. There were rumors that the nightmare sent by Oneirus was so terrible that his victim died in his sleep, and to hide it from his master, Oneirus ate the man who died of the nightmare. As time went on, Oneirus grew stronger, so did his craving to eat human meat. By giving in to his desires, Oneirus lost his vigilance, and Morpheus soon learned of the specific addictions of his creature. To restrain the monster, Morpheus turned to the arachnids for help. Only they were able to weave a net that would hold any living creature, no matter how strong it was. And Morpheus threw a net on Osiris, and he captured the monster, dividing his essence into 3 parts. Each part he imprisoned in an artifact which he gave to his disciples and ordered them to protect at the cost of their lives. The beast comes back and calls, you'll have to sacrifice your soul. The pure one who doesn't scream can hold the monster in his dreams, which you see in hell. Right. Convinced now? Somewhere next door, steps could be heard. Not wanting to be caught, we hurriedly left the museum building, closing the window behind us. Sorry, I'm just scanning in my achievements. Convinced now? What? That our old scrolls stored in the museum and someone recently took them out based on our finding. Museums exist! Rose snorted. It's a coincidence. My artifact, which commands dreams, disappears, and someone so happens to become interested in this exact topic that's covered by the archives in your provincial museum. During the conversation, we were at the entrance to the museum. Look at the hiccup, sorry. It's like, oh, her artifact controls dreams. We didn't know that. That is new information. The passage was crossed by a guard tape. The guard stood nearby and smoked. The policeman got bored and from a distance started enthusiastically sharing opinions about what happened. I decided we would not find a better time to talk with the guard. Excuse me, do you work here? What, another reporter? I already told your colleagues everything. What do you want from me? I looked around and winked to Rose. He's unlikely to want to talk to me. Therefore, this responsibility fell on Rose's fragile shoulders. No, sure not. We just live in a house opposite the museum. And we would really like to know when all these people finally leave. They are quite noisy. The guard's gaze darted towards the house Rose was hinting at. Its windows overlooked a busy street, so any sound was heard at any time. I think they should leave in 2 days if they don't catch the fake robber. If they catch him, they will leave much earlier. Fake robber? I thought that an event would be held here, and that's why there was so much noise. Surprisingly, Rose was a quick learner. A good actress would come out of her. No, miss. Everything's much more serious. But don't worry, the case will be quickly closed. But what happened? Should we be afraid of him? In a manner fit for a play, the girl grabbed me under the elbow, to which I was taken aback. Her voice was trembling, her eyes became compassionate. I wondered if she fooled me like that, was seriously worried. He came at night, screwed up all the walls and ran off as soon as the alarm went off. But he didn't manage to steal anything. After the last sentence, the man laughed. He was clearly amused and not at all afraid of the situation. Stole nothing? How come? Don't know. Either had no time or didn't want to. But in any case, we need to catch him. This is one of the most protected buildings in the town, and some artist act it. Following their conversation, I became more convinced that the buyer was not connected anywhere with this case. I could hardly imagine how a person of such appearance and manners would vandalize the walls of the museum. What was on the walls? Some squiggles that looked like satanic signs. Surely the culprit's just some sort of crazy. Hiding, I suppose, in his hole far in the forest, worshipping the devils. Then they will definitely catch him. Our police are always in action. Well, we will probably go. Thanks for the info, now we can sleep peacefully. We'd already turned around to leave as the man shouted out a random wish. Of an happiness to you. Realizing what he meant, Rose and I blushed. Okay. We went to Rose's rented apartment because there had been a commotion there just recently. Someone had crashed a Madame Dillon apartment at night. I wanted to know more about the story, but something was stopping me from asking questions. Rose obviously didn't say much. I didn't get the chance to ask you, but it'd be interesting to know. Why did you come here? Despite how stubbornly Rose pretended to be local, it was clear that this was not so. It's easy to find out strangers. They, as a rule, give themselves away through expensive clothes, a manner of holding, and a complete lack of knowledge about the town. If you ask such a person about a new bakery in the centre, who begin to describe in colour the unusual taste and low prices of their products, not suspecting that there is no mention of said bakery there. I came from a small town in the north, far from here. That's all I can say, I'm sorry. It's okay, don't say if you don't want to. I'm not a monster. Thank you. So we got to an inconspicuous 2-story house with carved stucco trim, small windows and small balconies with flowers. Pretty nice, it should be noted. I was always amused at how women can create comfort from nothing. Near the house, voices were heard. I'm always amazed at how casually sexist men can be. I shouldn't really be at this point. Near the house, voices were heard. One, the loudest, belonged to a middle-aged lady in a magnificent outfit, and the other, quiet and somewhat colourless, belonged to an elderly concierge with a shock of grey hair gathered in a bun. The lady was actively gesticulating, emotions alternating on her face one after the other. Now she was angry, and then her cheeks turned red like a tomato. Now plaintively wrinkled her forehead or begged with her eyes for help. I felt sorry for the old woman, for she had listened to the complaints of Madame Dillon for an hour. As you might have guessed, the local police officer did not resolve this issue and left things up to chance. And now, others would have to suffer. But then the questions arose, why on earth would Madame Dillon tell her anything? Unlikely that she is so stupid as to speak about her problems to any first comer. Just ask straight out. I apologise, madam. Can I request for some of your time? Reluctantly interrupting the conversation, the woman looked at me, obviously displeased. Don't you see that I am busy? I do not strike up an acquaintance in a bad mood, young man. I'd like to know more about the story that you just told this lady. I pointed to the old woman. And where did you get the idea that I should tell you about my problems? Get out of my sight. Not wanting to listen to me any more, the woman swiftly turned to her interlocutor, showing with all appearance that we were not welcome here. It's an arrogant person. I already wanted to express all my feelings as Rose pulled me by the sleeve. Let's not bother her now. She spent all day and night sorting through things in her crushed apartment and did not get enough sleep. We can come back later. Maybe. I could only agree with her. We stood at the train station, the place where, according to Rose, this whole story began. Strange things happened on the way here. Really? Which ones? A herd of elephants flashed past the compartment every night, it seemed to me. And in the afternoon, exactly at noon, different people knocked on the door from a conductor, which is not very surprising. Oh, and something about a little boy from a different carriage. To a little boy from a completely different carriage. It was very much like a nightmare. Yes, of course. But you are not afraid of huge guards and unfamiliar policemen? It was interesting to find out how she decided to come here. What could make her leave her homeland? Rose, why did you come here? The girl got nervous. A light sweat appeared on her face. She was now almost like the girl who broke into my pawn shop today. She didn't break in, she came in through the door. Will you believe me if I say that it was because of my nightmares? Nightmares? How is it possible that because of some dream you ran off to the end of the world? You still don't believe me, Dan. That's cruel. That's cruel, Dan. The station was deserted. What else could you expect if there were no trains today? Hell. If the ticket office is closed, we've got nothing to do here. I noticed that Rose was staring at me. Her gaze was restless. Is something wrong, Dan? No. It's just that the very unpleasant news can be waiting for us here. Look over there. Pointed a finger towards the ticket office. There was a closed sign. And what is it? No worries, look away. Cashier's day off. The ticket office should work continuously, so the closed sign looks like it's got blood on it. There should be a second cashier for this case. Come on. Come on. We are all humans, and we all need a rest. Let's instead check out this next train by which the buyer can leave. Still feeling a little uneasy, I followed Rose. This town surprised us with its minimalism. There was only one date in the train schedule column. Tomorrow. This is already getting too weird. We of course do not have trains that often, but not so rare. But now we know for sure that our buyer will not go anywhere until tomorrow. We settled on that. True, when I left I noticed several suspicious scarlet spots on the closed sign. Having decided to confide in Rose this time, I did not attach any importance to this. The sheets of evening began to descend. The last place on the list was a gloomy and mysterious forest. Many legends were written among the people about the monsters hiding in it, but no one dared to check their veracity. We made our way through the thick coniferous trees and bushes, and the guttural cries of birds rang out over our heads every now and then. Who knows, maybe they were not birds at all. The atmosphere of this place had bothered me before, but now it seemed truly frightening. The last thing we needed was to end off this busy day was to get lost by no one would go look for us. But Rose confidently moved forward. An awkward silence fell between us. Too little and at the same time too much has been said this day. Until now I cannot really comprehend that. Just the day before yesterday I could not even imagine the affairs happening in Northway Town. Perhaps it was worth leaving a pawn shop more often and being interested in town news. Sometimes everything seemed like an ordinary dream, something unreal. Like the forest, this story drew me deeper and deeper, became more horrifying at the same time. The final destination was close. It was obvious, but I had more questions the closer we got. Well, is it time for me to find out everything you've been hiding for so long? What are you talking about? Everything? About a mysterious stranger that came early in the morning as if fearing something. About the past that brought it here. And about the brooch, which property is still not clear to me. I can't stand it anymore. Rose's uncertainty has become a familiar sight for me. But no matter how she tried to hide the details, she was not escaping my questions this time. I have to find out the truth. Are you sure? Maybe wait a little longer. Well, no, I don't intend to wait any longer. Rose wanted to speed up her pace to avoid the unpleasant conversation, but I managed to stop her. Just think we rushed around all day in the town, now we're alone in the forest, but I still don't know what I signed up for, agreeing to go with you. Dad, let me go! You will not move until you tell me what's the matter? Okay, mister, I can't wait any longer. I'll tell you what it is. And the thing is, my dearest friend, that the buyer is going to open up a limbo gate with the help of a group of blockheads and call a terrible monster into this world. How am I your dearest friend? You've known me for like 2 seconds. What, another fairy tale about nightmares? This nightmare is called onerous. And you are unlikely to have ever imagined something more terrible. An asylum for the insane is what awaits an ordinary mortal after meeting him at best. Think for yourself the worst. I wish we never met, meeting him in reality. But if that person completes what he started, it will no longer matter. All life will turn into one endless nightmare. The girl was moving closer and closer. When she came close, I had no choice but to retreat, so when so inappropriately was a tree behind. And I will not allow this to happen due to some pawn shop receiver. Clear? The girl swiftly turned and swept away. Still in mild shock, I hurried after her. But what does any brooch have to do with that? That's just a piece of jewellery. The brooch allows you to fall into other people's dreams. So I met this crazy man. He was looking for the last artifact, but when he found out that it was with me, he simply lost his mind. And what about Aneris? Who is he? Not who, but what? An entity foreign to our world. A demon, a monster, a fiend, a beast. They call him many different names, but I can say one thing. It is better to never meet this creature of the night. Okay. But the gateway to the limbo? Why is he locked up there? Since when? And more importantly, by whom? If you don't want to go crazy and be drunk to the bottom with this creature, then we should speed up then. Against my better judgment, new questions appeared in my head every now and then. Before I could even open my mouth, they shut me right up. Seems we've arrived. I followed Rosa's gaze and saw an old church at the edge of the forest. Long abandoned and dilapidated, it now looked like a little sacred place, which had once gathered crowds of believers under its roof. Surprisingly, no one's remembered the church for so many years. It's not even on the map. The last thing I wanted was to go there. But Rose clearly did not share my precaution. We stopped at the entrance. The door was ajar. Should put some pickles in it then. Don't be a wuss. Okay, hit or miss. Rose, this is for you. John gave it to me just in case. Hide it and pray that you don't have to use it. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid, you won't kill anyone. But they can be neutralized in order for you to escape from here. Without giving doubts the allowance to get even deeper in my head, I entered first and stood up, struck like thunder. The abandoned church impressed with its dilapidated mystery. Despite the fact that no one had used it for a long time, it still retained its former atmosphere of spirituality. Even crumbling walls and faded murals did not spoil that impression. It seemed that right now the priest would come out or the bells would ring their song. Once upon a time it was very beautiful. Still in the days I heard voices, and they were no means from above. Two strangers in hoods were discussing the upcoming events. What do you think? Right, surely to get to exactly what we want. One can expect that from him to lock us all in some nightmares and drink our strength. No, he certainly will not dare to do so. There are more of us, and the beast will be in the power of the Supreme. Rose told us the truth. All this time we were successfully hidden in the shadows behind a wide column so they could not see us. As soon as the men left, I turned to Rose. I understand everything and realize my mistake. Maybe we can go back. No big deal. Someone or us will come out. Rose, who had been inspecting the room until that moment and paying no attention to me, looked at me condemningly. How brave you are. Perfectly normal reaction of a seen person with a working sense of self-preservation. What are you going to do? Is there any plan? I do not know. I'm not in the best position myself. You're a man or what? Apparently not a man. Having imperceptibly picked up, the buyer took us by surprise. But before I could realize anything, a sharp pain pierced the back of my head and darkness fell. Awakening was not pleasant. My ears rang and my head felt as if it had cracked itself into 1,000 fragments. My throat was dry as if I'd been unconscious for at least 4 weeks. My body was numb, I didn't even feel my fingers. The worst thing was to be in pitch darkness, not seeing and not hearing anything around. Suddenly my cheekbone responded with sharp pain. They removed a bag from my head and threw it aside. We were still in the abandoned church. The sunset still blinded my eyes, so I breathed a sigh of relief. Much time was passed. Which is definitely relief. My thoughts were interrupted by a measured buzz. The centre of a chalked circle stood a bunch of people. The buzz turned out to be choral singing in a language I did not understand, which was strangely familiar. No, strangely similar to German. All as one, they were in black hoods and with candles in their hands. Fanatics? Rose and I were tired, the back of my head still hurt from the blow. A man in a hood sat nearby and looked frankly bored. Or asleep. Likelihood. The call was in full bloom. I woke up in time. The same cannot be said about Rose. She was half sitting unconscious next to me. But where is the hero of the occasion? For my gestures and eager attempt to inspect the room, our guard woke up. Seeing that I came to my senses, he called someone to push the sleeping girl off so that she woke up. What? Sleepily blinking, Rose looked around, but before she could realise that deplorable situation, sarcastic voice sounded. Wow, just look to return from the kingdom of Morbius. It's a pity, because very soon you will leave us again. I grimaced involuntarily. This freak is really crazy. As if having read my mind, he leaned forward. I told you, Dan, you should not tell a man his business. But you didn't listen to me. It's sad. For you. But you are very welcome. I think the cashier is not enough for us to do the call. We need to pick up good food for good doggies, it hurts. He was a terrible monster. It'd be funny if this dog had not accepted us as a snack. So that's why the ticket office at the station was closed. What are you trying to achieve? Eyes of this abnormal shone with humour. Should I tell you everything? Well, a little mercy. You have one try. Ask your question. Stupid question. I am me. What will my name tell you? You promised to answer any question. I did. He wanted to say something else, but the stone in his cane lit up. Well, we don't have much time left to take up this conversation. Inject them with morphine and let's get this over and done with. The man went away and our guard was advancing on us. The hardened body didn't want to obey, so Rose and I were injected with a soporific without much effort. The mind gradually fell asleep. The darkness consumed me completely. I didn't wake up anymore, but shortly before my death, the image of the same man who doomed me and Rose to death appeared in my head. He smiled. This is he impossible? This actually happened, and soon I will rule this world. Unable to resist death, I fell into the emptiness. Is it actually the end? Thank you for your time in the game. Game developed created by these people. Cool, because I'm falling asleep. Semi the game, semi tablet. Had an English translator and editor. Lots of reading is very tiring. This is when it's an awkward game, yes. Got some pictures. Let's see. Bad dream, declined offer. Cool. Well, I will get the other ones in my own time. Well, we'll just do the little snappy snap. That was quite a short thing. We found out lots, but we didn't really succeed. But that's okay. I don't need to succeed. We did a little brief joke case, and I'm just going to go get an early night again. At least if I'm falling asleep and I'm in bed reading, then that's fine. I got the hiccups as well. It's really rainy and it's cold. Yeah, I will be back for at least one stream at the weekend, I hope. But I'll play it by ear. We'll see where we go. Also, hi Jessie, bye Jessie. So yeah, I'm just gonna call it here. Short stream, but I think we're good. If I'd have prepped a little better, I'd have probably done a double Joe case, but I think we're in danger of, you know, the stream being watching Joe snooze. And I don't want to do that. So, we'll just call it here. And we have visited the edge of reality and we survived. And hopefully I'll catch you next time. I've been Joe, otherwise known as Angel SK. I bid you good night. No one is going to watch me sleep. That's weird. Bye.